Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday market snapshot for the Ottawa real estate market for Monday, February 19th, 2024. Happy Family Day to everyone who is hopefully having some time spent with family today. My name is Annalie Rice. I'm a realtor here in Ottawa, Ontario, and every week I bring you the details of what's going on in the Ottawa real estate market. Let's get going. Okay, so first off, citywide, we look at the active listings. We see that they are climbing slightly, up by 28 over this past week. Mostly it was in the townhome market, a little bit in detached and condos. The sales, however, climbed more steeply, up by 33 this week, mostly in the detached market, but up across property types. Okay, so this is a graphical form of the inventory breakdown. We've got the total inventory in black. We can see that that's been climbing fairly steadily since the new year. And we see the active inventory, the green, is climbing slightly, but not really making a whole lot of gains. We see instead that the sales and conditional sales have climbed fairly significantly over the last month or so. So what I did was I added a few little dashed lines there, and those are intersecting where we were at the same week in 2023. And what I noticed was that our sales, that's the bottom line there, the sales are at about 15 to 20% higher than where we were last year at this point. So the sales all the way through February and most of January were higher. So we're seeing more sales. But the inventory, so that's the green, we're only at about 10% higher. And then overall inventory is only about 10% higher. So to me, this shows us that we're in a bit of a tighter market than we were even in the beginning of 2023. Now, what we saw in 2023 was throughout the spring, we saw sales pick up and we saw prices actually increased through 2023, the first half of 2023. And so we know there's a lot of inventory out there. We saw it in the fall. So it's just a whether or not all that inventory or more new inventory is going to come on to compensate for those increased sales. So we're going to keep watching this and see whether or not this balance holds, or do our inventory levels climb and keep the prices in check. Okay, so in new listings this week, this is a breakdown. There were 291 properties listed this week, which is a slight drop from last week. I'm not really surprised with that because we do have the Family Day long weekend. A lot of people probably plan to take a long weekend and not list before the long weekend. Also, the largest school board here in Ottawa, the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, had a PD Day on Friday. So it really was a 4-day weekend for a lot of people. Of the 291 properties, we had 55 of those were relisted. That was 19%, and 236, or 81%, were new to the market this week. I do expect that the number of new listings will climb this week, although we are on a holiday today, so a lot of the properties that would have been listed today will probably list tomorrow. But in the next week or two, we're going to see the start to the real increases in the number of new listings as we head truly into the spring market. Okay, so in the next, we'll look at sales, the sales breakdown. We had 15% of the sales that happened this week happened with no conditions. It's the same as last week, and the 4-week average sits at 18%. We had 34.5% of the sales that happened this week were at or above asking. That's 2 weeks in a row that we've been climbing. If we look at just the sales that had happened in the first 7 days on the market, that percentage of properties selling at or above asking is up at 72%. So if you're shopping for a property within just the first couple days of it listing and you're putting an offer in quite soon in that first week, expect that, the majority of them are selling at or above asking. 16% of the sales this week were ones that sold within 7 days of coming on the market, and 44% of those sold with no conditions. So again, that's 3 times as many selling with no conditions as the average for all the sales. And 60% of the sales that happened this week were homes that sold within 30 days of the market. And that is climbing. Just a few weeks ago, we were down around the 30-40% mark. Okay, zooming into the different areas of the city to see what's going on. First off, we have the central urban region. We see that the detached market stayed steady, but the increases to condos on the market and slightly to the townhomes on the market. Sales were up for the detached market and towns steady for condos. In Canada and Stittsville, we see that there was a slight increase for detached, a little bit more for towns, and actually a drop for condos on the market this week. And sales were up slightly for detached, although they were pretty low last week, and down for towns and condos. In Barrhaven and Riverside South, steady for the number of properties listed for detached, and just a slight decrease for towns and condos. And sales were steady for detached, absolutely nothing really changed for detached, and just slightly up for townhomes and condos. And in Orleans, we had a slight decrease for detached, just up 1 for townhomes and steady for condos, although there's 40 condos listed for sale in Orleans. And sales were up for detached and towns and slightly down for condos. Okay, so these charts show us the full data in table form. It also includes the conditionals. I like to have the conditionals because it shows you sort of, give or take, what's coming in the next week. So if you look for the detached there, we've got fewer conditionally sold properties this week than we had sold this week. So unless there's a whole bunch that sell without conditions, we would expect that the number of sales may be a little bit lower next week, which makes sense with the long weekend this weekend. Same thing for the residential townhomes. The number of conditionally sold is lower than the sold, but not by a whole lot. And condos, the number of conditionally sold properties is actually higher than sold properties this week. I think the condo market is probably the least affected by holidays because there are fewer families so living in condos, and it's probably the families in the larger like townhomes and detached that are probably more affected by the long weekend. Okay, so that's the quick update for the Family Day Monday on February 19th. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please give me a comment in YouTube or just get in touch. Happy to answer any questions people have, and I hope you have a fantastic week this week.